Hello students, once again this is Dr. Sujata Magdum, Assistant Professor in Zoology, KTHM College Nashik. Today I'll be dealing with Cells of Immune System Part C from Introduction to Immune System for MSc 2 for the subject Immunology, that is ZYDT 234. Now, in the earlier lecture, we have understood about the structure, development and function of first lymphocyte, that is T lymphocyte. Today we shall concentrate on formation, that is maturation, as well as action or function of B cells. You all know that in earlier lectures, you got to know that B cells, they are formed or produced into the bone marrow of long bones. So here we can say that there is a small developmental changes which are seen within the bone marrow, and further these B cells in immature condition or in naive condition, they are seen circulating throughout the body, wherein they go to various different secondary lymphoid organs and become active. So let us go through the course of development of B cell. So we need to know that these B cells, they are seen developed into the long bones, wherein bone marrow is present, and in the stromal tissue, the hematopoietic stem cells, that is HSC, these are the pluripotent cells which undergo the process of further development and they get converted into pro B cells. Now these pro B cells or progenitor B cells, this is the lineage which once differentiated can only give rise to B cells and none other than B cells. Now these progenitor B cells, they have the ability to further get differentiated into the pre-B cells. These pre-B cells get converted or transformed into immature B cells. So starting from the differentiation from hematopoietic stem cells to immature B cell, these stages in the course of development of B cells, they are seen present only into the bone marrow. Once immature B cells are formed to certain size, or you can say they attain certain size, they leave the bone marrow and come into the circulation. Now into the circulation, when these cells, they are not seen acquainted, or when they don't get interlinked with any kind of infectious structures like antigens or their secretion, they are still defined to be naive or pure B cells. Once these naive or pure B cells get acquainted with antigen, or suppose I can say that the antigen is seen present into the circulation and probably it comes across the B cells, that is naive B cells, then the naive B cells, they get converted into active B cells. Now when we say active B cells, what transformation changes occurs? It occurs within the nucleus of the cell. And here the gene arrangement leads to expression in the form of receptor molecules, as a result of which there are two different types of cells which are generated by the influence of this antigen. And the first cell which is formed from activated B cell is the memory cell. And the second type of cells which come into existence is the plasma cells. The distinction between memory cell and plasma cell is memory cells, they are long-lived cells and they can be seen present within the body for years together. Whereas plasma cells, their lifespan is very small because these cells, they are going to release the secretion in the form of antibodies, and once the formation of antibodies are seen done, then these plasma cells, they lose their activity. Hence, we can say that once the B cells, that is naive B cells, get transformed into activated B cells in presence of specific antigen, a particular type of antibodies will be seen developed within the body. And the functioning of memory cell is these cells, they will be seen in dormant condition till the same antigen once again enter into the body for the second time to show the kind of infection. And if this happens again, then instead of naive B cells getting stimulated to activated B cells, immediately the memory B cells, because they know the presence of the antigen and its chemical nature, it immediately gets transformed into the plasma cells, and these plasma cells once again start releasing the same type of antibodies, and hence the B cells, they form a part of humoral type of immune response. Now on the lower side you can see the electron micrograph, wherein one can find the distinction between the plasma cells and the small lymphocytes. Now what do you understand by small lymphocyte? If you recall, in the previous lecture of T cells, I said that T cells as well as B cells, which are coming from progenitor cells in the form of pre-cells, they are very small as compared to their matured condition. Now here the distinction can be seen with reference to the cytoplasm and nucleus ratio. The small lymphocyte here, the cytoplasmic and the nuclear ratio is nearly 1:2 proportion, whereas when the small lymphocytes, say for example the pre-cell which has entered into the naive cell and got converted to activated B cell, now here the activated B cell, once it gets transformed to plasma cell, the cytoplasmic to nuclear ratio happens to be 2:1, which is totally opposite to the earlier phase that is called as the small lymphocyte, right? Now let us move ahead. The third type of lymphocytes which play an important role in immune system or which act as an immunocompetent cell is the natural killer cell. Now these natural killer cell, as I said, they are type of lymphocytes and the total number is nearly 10% into the circulation. Now these natural killer cells, they show cytotoxic activity against either the tumor cells or the infected cells. And to identify the tumor cells or the infected cell, they have two specific methods or two specific modes. For that, I have shown the diagram here of the natural killer cell. Let me explain you first the structure of natural killer cell. Now here we can say the cells, they are very large in size as compared to other lymphocytes, and it shows presence of a prominent huge large nucleus. The cytoplasm is granular and onto the surface, like any other nucleated cell, it shows presence of receptors which are defined as CD16. If you recall, CD refers to cluster of differentiation, which we have already understood in the previous lecture of the T cells, wherein I said that CD4 and CD8 cells are there for T helper and T cytotoxic cell, indicating that the receptor molecules over there, they show the cluster of differentiation of 4 and A type. In the same way, natural killer cells, they show the cluster of differentiating protein which is of 16 type. In the sense, it has been investigated at the numeric level of 16th. Therefore, the name has been given as 16. Suppose if it is 1, indicating the cluster of differentiation 1 means the protein must have been identified first. 16 is indicating the position of its identification mark. Likewise, it goes true with CD8 or CD4 or CD45 and whatever cells have been identified according to their protein structure of the receptor molecule, right? Now as I said that this natural killer cell, it has the ability to identify the tumor cells as well as infected cell. Now what difference it can see into the tumor cell? To have the identification mark between the tumor cell and normal cell, we need to know what is the basic difference. Now concentrate on this picture, wherein I have shown a normal cell showing presence of the specific type of receptor molecules onto its surface, right? If you compare this normal cell with the tumor cell, the first thing what you can see is the variation in the size. tumor cells happens to be larger in size as compared to the normal cell. Apart from this size variation, there is of course presence of the receptor molecule alike to that of the normal cell, but then along with that there is tumor specific proteins which are seen onto the surface. Obviously, this tumor specific proteins which is not observed into the normal cell will be identified by the natural killer cell, and this way the tumor cell's activity will be under control of natural killer cell in normal condition. Otherwise, if this activity is been responding into the lesser extent, that results into development of tumor. It means that supposingly the natural killer cell's activity is subsidized. It shows less activity as compared to the growth of tumor cells. As a result of this feature, there is development of tumor. I hope it is clear to you. Now, the second aspect is how this natural killer cell has the ability to identify an infected cell. Just see into the diagram wherein I have marked A and B. There are two different conditions in which the infected cell can be identified. Let us talk about first the cell which is into the A feature. Now here what I have shown is in blue you can see infected bacterial DNA. Now this bacterial DNA is present into the cell. As a result, if you see to the outer surface of the cell, here the receptor molecules, they are enhanced. The number is more. Obviously, this large number of receptors will be identified as something wrong with the cell by the natural killer cell, and so this natural killer cell will attack upon the infected cell and bring about the knocking action. There is second chance wherein it is not necessary that the large number of receptor molecules will be seen developed, but the number of receptor molecules, they will get reduced as compared to that of normal case. So in both the situation, if the receptor molecules are more onto the cell or if the receptor molecules are less into the cell, probably it is because of the infection, and such cells which show abnormal size or abnormal number of receptors onto their surface will be identified by natural killer cell, and they will bring about the knocking action or they will bring about the killing action. Also, there is reduction in MHC molecules on such infected cell. That also forms the criteria for identifying the natural killer cell as the infected cell which has the less number of MHC molecules. Then these natural killer cells, they exhibit antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity which is called as ADCC. That is, here the antibodies will be generated by the virally infected cells, and because of those antibodies which are seen persistingly onto the surface of infected cell, the natural killer cell will identify this antibodies and bring about the knocking action. Hence, the action is defined as antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity. Suppose the natural killer cell's activity is less in certain humans due to certain kind of disorder or certain kind of infection. It leads to Chedeck-Higashi syndrome in case of humans, and in case of mice it leads to Beige condition. Okay. Now the next is the types of natural killer cell. There is one type of natural killer cell identified and it is called as NK1 T cells. Now you may wonder why I have mentioned as T cells, because NK1, it has some of the characteristic features similar to that of the T cells. Now let us see what are those characters which are present in natural killer cell, and as a result of which these cells are classified as NK1. The first and foremost important character is, as in case of T cell, you know that the receptors are present and those receptors are called as T cell receptors or TCR. So likewise, in NK1 cells also there is presence of TCR-like receptors. So this is the identification, or you can say the condition which is very similar between the NK1 cells and the T cells. The second form and most important character which is similar between the T cell and NK1 is both of them, they have the ability to interact with MHC like molecules, right? So you know that this MHC like molecules, they are classified as class 1 and class 2 molecules. So T cells, they can interact with class 1 and class 2 molecules. Likewise, NK1 cell also has the ability to interact with MHC like molecule, not class 1 and class 2, but the MHC like molecules which are present in their vicinity and is defined as CD1. Just now as I said, CD refers to cluster of differentiation. So this is a membrane protein. So CD1 type of an infected cell will be identified by the natural killer cell. Thus, we can say that because of these characters, the cells have been defined as NK1T type of cells. Now, there are certain peculiar features which are totally seen present related only with the NK cells, like other than having the receptors molecules, these NK1 cells, they have the proteinaceous component which is identified as CD16. And then the second one important feature is these cells, they have the ability to secrete cytokines which helps in production of antibodies producing cells, that is B cells, activating the antibody producing cells, that is B cells. Apart from that, these NK cells, they play an important role in responses like development of inflammation and also leads to development and expansion of cytotoxicity with reference to T cells. Now let us move ahead with the granulocytes. You know that granulocytes are important blood cells and they are commonly called as WBC. Now why do we call them granulocyte? The only reason is their cytoplasm, it contains large amount of granules. And as you know, there is another type of cells present into the blood which is called as agranulocytes, wherein the cytoplasm doesn't show presence of any kind of granule. Example is the RBCs. Now here I am going to talk about the granulocyte, that is including monocytes, macrophages, basophils, eosinophils and neutrophils, right? So let us begin with monocytes and macrophages. Now both monocytes and macrophages, they have the same line of development, that is, as I said earlier in the beginning of this lecture, that is, these lymphocytes, they are seen developed into the bone marrow, wherein the HSC, that is hematopoietic stem cell, it get differentiated into progenitor cell. So as if I am talking about monocyte, I should say that the granulocyte monocyte progenitor cells will be differentiated from hematopoietic stem cells, and these granulocyte monocyte progenitor cell in future course of time will further get differentiated into promonocytes and finally will get transformed into monocytes. These monocytes, they are small cells containing a very large nucleus and the number of the monocytes is very small. Further, these monocytes, they are motile in nature, indicating that if they are present into the blood, we call them as monocyte, but the same monocyte, when it enters into the tissues, it gets resided over there and it becomes non-motile. So this monocyte will get transformed to macrophages. So both monocyte and macrophages, they have the same lineage of development. The only difference between monocyte and macrophages is monocytes, they are motile and they are seen into the circulating fluid, that is blood, whereas macrophages, they are non-motile, they are transformed from monocytes and they are seen present restricted to the tissues like lungs, brains, kidney, bones, connective tissue and so on, right? So in case of lungs, you can see large number of alveolar macrophages. Likewise, in case osteoclast cells are present, in case of brain, microglial cells or mesenglial cells in case of kidney, Kupffer cells in case of liver, and histiocytes and connective tissue. These are the various different types of macrophages which are showing non-motile nature but having the phagocytic action within the tissue, and therefore it forms an important component of immunocompetent cell. Now let us see what is phagocytosis. Now phagocytosis is mainly shown by as important phenomena of the cell wherein cell engulfs the pathogen or it drinks the toxic secretion of the pathogen and brings about secured immune development into an organism. So both exogenous type of antigen or endogenous type of any matter can be seen removed from the host cell or host body by the process which is called as phagocytosis, and this is achieved only by the cells which are called as macrophages. Now here the first important feature is any pathogen, say for example bacteria, which is in vicinity of the macrophage will be seen attracted by the macrophage only because of the chemotactic action, and once the macrophage is attracted towards the bacteria, then there is adherence of the macrophage cell to the bacteria, and as a result of which the membrane of the macrophage, it shows development of protrusions which are called as pseudopodia like structure, and this pseudopodia like structure, it engulfs the pathogen, that is bacteria or any antigen for that matter, and it takes it into the cell. So this process of taking in of pathogen within the cytoplasm of the cell leads to formation of a membrane bound vesicle containing an antigen, and this membrane bound vesicle containing antigen is called as a phagosome. Now this phagosome, it fuses with the lysosomes which are present into the cytoplasm of the macrophages and leads to formation of phagolysosome. As lysosome, it contributes the lytic enzymes to the phagosome. This lytic enzymes show its action onto the antigen which is trapped within the phagolysosome, and as a result of which the fragments of the antigens, they will be released outside, and at the same time sometimes it may so also happen that this can lead to development of MHC2 type of structures which will be seen developed onto the surface of this macrophages, and hence it helps in giving or stimulating, or you can say donating the process of presence of antigen into the vicinity area. Moreover, sometimes the antigens, they are seen clubbed together or they are made grouped together in presence of the secretions which are given out by the macrophages, and this phenomena wherein large number of antigens, they are seen collected in a massive number is called as opsonization. This is important property of macrophages. Now, apart from that, these macrophages, they show antimicrobial and cytotoxic activity which is oxygen dependent and oxygen independent. Let us begin with oxygen dependent activity. In case of oxygen dependent activity, we should always now considering the macrophage which has been activated. So such activated macrophages means the macrophage which has encountered the presence of antigen, it will show a metabolic process which is called as respiratory burst. And in this respiratory burst, the membrane bound oxidase enzyme, it gets stimulated, which as a result helps in reducing oxygen to superoxide. Now these superoxides are formed, and along with superoxide there is also formation of hydroxyl radicals and hydrogen peroxide. So once these superoxides are formed, these superoxides, they tend to bring about the toxic reaction into the antigen, or simply the presence of superoxide itself becomes toxic to the antigen, causing the death of an antigen. Also, we have seen in the earlier slide, that is, there is formation of a phagosome which is fusing with lysosome, leading to giving rise to formation of phagolysosome. Now once the phagolysosomes are formed, then myeloperoxide enzyme is activated, and this myeloperoxide enzyme, it helps in release of hypochlorite from hydrogen peroxide and chloride ions. This hypochlorite itself is very toxic and it bleaches, and this bleaching action results into knocking effect of an antigen. Sometimes it can so happen that there is presence of bacterial wall which is made up of lipopolysaccharides, or there are certain mycobacterium showing presence of mural dipeptides, that is MDP. Then in this situation, the T cell derived cytokines, they express high levels of nitric oxide synthetase, that is NOS, and this nitric oxide synthetase, it has the ability to oxidize arginine to citrulline, as a result of which the nitric oxides are formed, and this nitric oxide, it forms an potent antimicrobial agent, and this way the phenomena of antimicrobial activity is shown by large number of macrophages. Now let us discuss about the oxygen independent killing of macrophages. The best examples which are being shown affected by oxygen independent killing by macrophages are Pseudomonas, Haemophilus influenza, Streptococcus pneumoniae like organism. Now here once again, the activated macrophages which contain hydrolytic enzymes, but these hydrolytic enzymes, they can act irrespective of presence or absence of oxygen. So in absence of oxygen, these hydrolytic enzymes which are commonly showing their action, they are called as defensin. The important property of defensin is they are cysteine rich cationic peptides, and these cationic peptides, they contain 29 to 35 amino acid residues. There are total 6 variants of these cysteines present into the cells, which show a circular molecule, and this circular molecule has the intensity to form an ion permeable channel into the bacterial wall, as a result of which the pores will be generated into the bacterial wall, resulting into the phenomena which is called as porosis, and that brings about the knocking action of the pathogens. Now to continue with our discussion on granulocyte, we'll begin with neutrophils. Neutrophils are important blood cells which are large in number, and nearly 50 to 70% of neutrophils, they are seen present circulating throughout the body. These neutrophils, they contain cytoplasmic granules which are showing no action, or they don't get stained with acidic or basic dye. They get stained only with the neutral dyes, and therefore the name is neutrophils. These neutrophils, they show many lobed nucleus, and therefore it is called as multinucleated cells. Now because it contains large number of nucleated lobes within the nucleus, these are also called as polymorphonucleosides, right? Further, these neutrophils, they are motile phagocytic cells, as they are seen circulating into the blood, and they employ oxygen dependent as well as oxygen independent pathways to knock down the effect of antigen. The second type of granulocyte into the blood is eosinophil. These eosinophil, they count nearly 3% into the circulating fluid, and they being granulocytes, we can say the cytoplasm of these cells also show presence of granules which get stained with acidic dyes. The nucleus here is bilobed. These are mobile phagocytic cells once again, and they show their action against the parasitic organism. The third type of motile granulocytes, they are basophils, and here the cytoplasm, it shows granules which get stained with basic dye, that is methylene blue. And apart from this, these cells, they show presence of a nucleus which is singleton, and the interesting feature of basophil is these are non-phagocytic cells, and their action is seen only in indicating or employing the allergic responses. The number of basophils, they are very less into the body, and it measures nearly less than 1%. Next type of lymphocytes into discussion is the mast cell. Now these mast cells, they are seen present into the tissues, and these mast cells, once again, their cytoplasm, it shows presence of granules which contains heparin and histamine. And these histamines, they are released only when the IgE molecules, they show a cross-linking with an allergen, and this cross-linking, it stimulates the internals of the cell to release the granules, that is histamine, which brings about the allergic response into the organism, right? So allergen could be any dust particle, it could be pollen grains, it could be animal dander, and so on. So this is the comprehensive slide showing what we have understood till now in immunocompetent cell in all the different lectures. There are two different types of immune cells showing specific and non-specific responses. The cells of specific responses includes T cells and B cells, whereas non-specific cells, they show natural killer cell, macrophages, mast cell, dendritic cells, granulocytes, which includes neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, and monocytes, right? Now, this is an overall view of what we have studied till now. The first diagram is showing the development of immunocompetent cells into the thymus and the bone marrow and bursa of Fabricius. Thymus, it helps in maturing the T cells, and therefore the name is T cells, whereas bone marrow cells, they get differentiated into plasma cells and the memory cells, and both these T cells and B cells, they get resided into the secondary lymphoid tissue, wherein their site of action will be generated. And these are the different types of cells what we have discussed till now, that is the process of hematopoiesis by HSC cell, which is a self-renewing cell, and then this leads to differentiating into two different lineage, which is called as lymphoid stem cells and myeloid stem cell. Myeloid stem cell will give rise to blood cells, whereas lymphoid stem cells will give rise to lymphocytes. Lymphoid stem cell get differentiated into T progenitor cell and B progenitor cell. T progenitor cell will differentiate into thymus as the T helper cell, T cytotoxic cell, T suppressor cell, or T regulatory cell. Whereas B progenitor cell, it gets transformed into naive B cell, and when it comes into circulation and leads to different areas of secondary lymphoid tissue, it transforms itself into the plasma cells or the memory cells. Likewise, when we talk about the myeloid stem cells, this will give rise to different types of progenitor cells like granulocyte monocyte progenitor cell, eosinophil progenitor cell, basophil progenitor cell, megakaryocyte progenitor cell, erythroid progenitor cell. So granulocyte monocyte progenitor cell will further get differentiated into the monocytes and macrophages, or it can get directly differentiated into the dendritic cells. The difference between dendritic cells and any other macrophage is, in case of dendritic cell, large number of dendritic structures are seen surrounding to the cell, which are less as compared into the macrophages. Similarly, eosinophil progenitor cell has the potential or the ability to get converted into RBCs, that is eosinophils. Whereas basophil progenitor cell will give rise to basophils, whereas megakaryocyte progenitor cell will give rise to platelets, and erythroid progenitor cells will give rise to erythrocytes, right? With this, we have completed the different types of immunocompetent cells present into our body. Thank you.